Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So earlier today I was online and I saw some stories about this controversy between Marc Lamont Hill and that Uncle Tom sheriff, David Clarke. So Marc Lamont Hill went on CNN and he was talking about these meetings that Donald Trump is having with black figures, like public figures. And he was talking about basically the same thing that I have been saying and that many other people have been saying. If Donald Trump is serious about addressing the problems in the black community, then he would not be going to entertainers. He would not be going to comedians and rap artists and basketball and football players. He would be going to people who are experts in policy. He would be going to policymakers, politicians, activists in the community. So Marc Lamont Hill mentioned that on CNN. He was on a panel with some other people. He was debating against one of these ridiculous Donald Trump supporters. And he also pointed out how basically the people that Donald Trump is calling are a bunch of mediocre Negroes. And after he went off and called them mediocre Negroes, that Uncle Tom Sambo sheriff, David Clarke, his panties were in a bunch, so he decided to go on Twitter and insult Marc Lamont Hill by calling him a Jigaboo. He called his brother a Jigaboo, man. I'm like, who even uses that word nowadays? People don't even use that term. I mean, when I heard that term, the first thing I thought about was that Spike Lee movie back in the day, School Days, when they had the Jigaboos on there. You know, that's the first thing I thought about. Then I also thought about Jay-Z's song where he's like, Jigga who, Jigga what? You could just throw in Jigaboo, and it's just crazy, man. It's just silly. So he called Marc Lamont Hill a Jigaboo, and then he also went on to say this guy thinks he has the right to tell black people who they should be and what they should do. And then he called Marc Lamont Hill out as being a lackey for the Democrats. And in response, Marc Lamont Hill went on to basically call David Clarke all these names, but he did it in a backhanded kind of way, you know, passive-aggressive kind of way. He said, like, I never called you a coon, a Uncle Tom, a shine, a hambone, and all these other derogatory terms. That's just, you know, not in good form or something like that. I don't have the exact words in front of me, but he was basically saying he never called him those things, and that just wouldn't be a good thing to call him those names. But basically through that tweet, he was calling David Clarke all these names. And so there's been a lot of talk about this online. You had people saying, well, why are these two guys using racial slurs towards each other? And then you had Roland Martin basically point out how when that Uncle Tom buck dancing, shoe shining sheriff comes on the program, and those are my descriptions of that sheriff, but when that sheriff goes on Roland Martin's show, Roland Martin tells his guests ahead of time not to insult him, you know, by calling him a coon and all this and that. But yet this guy, this sheriff, this damn buck dancing sheriff, has no problem, you know, using a racial slur against a black man. And I'm just like, man, that sheriff is the last person that needs to be calling anybody a Jigaboo, given the fact that this guy buck dances and shoe shines and ass kisses for white supremacy. This guy wants to pretend like police brutality is no problem anymore. He said that police brutality doesn't exist. This man has trashed Black Lives Matter, called them a terrorist group, a hate group, and all this and that. this guy is a mouthpiece for white supremacy. And really, you know, in terms of what Marc Lamont Hill said, you know, by calling those people mediocre Negroes, I mean, I think that that was a polite description of those people, because they could have been called much worse than that. So tell me what y'all think about this. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace.